All right, so welcome to Feel Good Doha, a space where we have meaningful conversations on health and leadership and personal growth. And today I have a special guest, an amazing yoga and meditation teacher, Tapovan. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone.
Mhm.
Thank you for tuning in and pleasure to be here.
Hmm. So my first question to you, Tapovan, is how do you feel good on a daily basis?
I think happiness is an inside job. So very often we tend to seek happiness or pleasure or comfort outside of ourselves. So that's why we go to places where we get entertained or go to nice restaurants and we kind of forget about where true happiness is coming from. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't go to movies or theaters or restaurants or anything like that. However, we shouldn't be dependent on these kind of things, especially now when we had everything shut down and people or some of the people were really struggling to not to go out, not to go to restaurants and just be by themselves. And that can be sometimes quite scary because we have to face our own self, right? So this time was really challenging for some, and it was also a good lesson for all of us to use this time to go inwards and try to find those things that actually really make us happy rather than
Mm.
just keeps us distracted from our problems. Because many times, people go out and drink because they don't feel good or they have a really stressful job and then they need a release at the end of the week. And then that's like a coping mechanism, but it's actually not really giving the person a good rest or it's not realigning the person with him or herself. It's more like taking us away from who we really are. So happiness is really coming from inwards, and we just need to find how to tune in with that infinite joy that is inside each and every one of us.
Mm.
And it's not always easy. It takes effort.
Mhm.
So, when people sit down to meditate and they have a really stressful life, and if I ask them to just, think about nothing, it's not going to happen because the mind is continuously racing. So we need to find methods how to build up our practice. Let's say first, just even starting yoga, like something physical where the person is not even thinking about controlling the mind or even directing the attention away from anything distracting. So just doing simple movements. It doesn't have to be even yoga. It can be any kind of exercise. It can be, because all kind of exercise have health benefits. I think yoga is different in a way that it has slightly more emotional benefits than, let's say, compared to a HIIT class or whatever.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that I'm not trying to be biased. I also do different kind of fitness classes every now and then, so just
Mhm.
to keep it mixed up. Also, I do breathing, breathwork, pranayama. I would say that's a second stage or second step for someone who
Mm.
is seeking to connect something higher than what we normally perceive in a daily life. So just going slightly beyond our mind and the physical body and connecting with our energetics. So tapping into the pranic field or our energy field, the aura, through the breath work, where we generate extra amount of life force and also boost our immune system and energy simply by manipulating our breath. So we can calm our system, we can boost our system depending on what the person needs. Someone who are like quite sluggish or depressive or depressing, then they need something that kind of like picks them up, gives them an energy boost. And some people are like hyperactive and they need something that is like more like calming. So it's not about what you use, it's just where you go. You want to come towards a balanced state. So if you are, too inactive, you want to be a bit more active, and if you're too active, be a bit more passive. So just finding that balance, the yin and yang, and eventually um, reaching meditation. Once the mind and the body is in more of a coherence, then it's easier to meditate because there's not so many clashes in the mind. So meditation is a great tool. I meditate about 2 hours every morning, and I do an hour of breathing. But that's quite a lot, to be honest. So I'm not saying everybody should do this, but that's my medicine. So
yeah, let me jump in there for a moment. So what's your go-to breathwork technique right now, and what do you need right now to tune into that inner balance?
I usually use the same techniques. So with meditation and also with breathwork, it is all about regularity. So let's say when you go to yoga class, you like to do different things, or when you go to HIIT class, you want to work on different muscle groups. But with breathwork and meditation is rather the opposite. You just want to keep doing the same thing over and over again, and it can be sometimes boring, but at the same time, sometimes also very rewarding. If you think about, let's say, Ashtanga yoga, that's the same sequence. So people just keep doing the same thing over and over again. So what I do is usually I do Vastrika, or similar to Breath of Fire, with breath attention and applying the yogic energy locks, the bandhas. I do Anuloma Viloma, the alternate nostril breathing. And then there's a special breath technique I learned, which is similar to the square breathing. So that takes about, I don't know, about 45 minutes, 50 minutes to complete, and then I do my Kriya Yoga practice, which is internal energy work. It's similar to Qigong, where it's all like seated. So, and then not mistaken by the yogic kriyas, or the shat karmas, that if you've done a yoga teacher training, or any of who did a yoga teacher training, then they teach like yogic cleansing technique when you purify the body, like certain techniques that can detoxify. But these are more like pure energetic work, like just sitting, meditating, moving the attention to different things, in the sound, in the light, in sensations, and working with the chi and the prana. And also just silent sitting, like being in a state of fullness. Like that's the ultimate aim, to feel complete and just have the sense of fullness or wholesomeness. And then that doesn't have to depend on any external thing. So you can really just manifest it from the inside out.
Yeah, sounds like you have your routine pretty calibrated.
Yeah, I've been practicing like since 2003. I started yoga in 2003, and like really, what's the word? Like consistently, like since 2010, like a strong like daily practice, like few hours a day. And
yeah. And how did you get into yoga and meditation in the first place?
When I was a kid, I was always interested in the supernatural. Like I watched the X-Files, and that was always like full of unexplained stuff with the ETs and all sorts of people, like healers, and talking about ghosts and spirits and everything that basically was supernatural. I had interest in that. So I was always fascinated by what's beyond our physical senses. So that's how I started reading about meditation in Buddhist books, and then the benefits of meditation, mind control, like how you can, use the power of the mind to achieve different kind of things. So how to use your brain, because we only use like 5 to 10% our brain. Even science says that. So which means there's a lot of gray area, or there's a lot of area where we could tap into and see what we are actually capable of doing. So I always had an interest from an early age, and then it later led me to my teachers in Hungary. I was studying with Hungarian shaman. I could say we have a shamanic tradition,
Yeah.
which he was like reviving.
Yeah, believe it or not, let me interrupt you for a moment. Because I've been to Hungary a couple of times, and I had the chance to be in a shamanic ceremony with a traditional shaman there. And I'm curious to know, what is his name, your teacher?
His name is Kovács András.
Okay. I
He
don't know.
started this whole movement. There are quite a few people, but when he started doing this whole thing about, I don't know, 25 years ago, it was not so popular. He was the one who like really started to like revive this whole movement, and of course now everything is coming back to life again, like all with the indigenous wisdom. Like people are going to the Amazon and they go to see different people in Siberia or in Africa, so or the Native Americans. So now humanity is coming back again to this natural remedies and seeing the value in that. We shouldn't completely disregard this ancient wisdom, because it has survived for a reason, because it is actually working. If it was not working, it wouldn't survive for so long. But now we have, we only focus on what we can touch, we can taste, and we don't always believe in other kind of remedies that are, less scientifically proven, so to say.
But effective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned that you've been interested in the supernatural as a
Oh yeah.
kid.
So, and then later on, I had, I had, um, I had like an inner quest to find out, like, okay, what's beyond. And with this teacher, I was studying for a couple of years with this shaman, but I felt like he taught me a lot of things and they were really, really useful, but I didn't feel the structure. I didn't feel like I'm going towards a certain point, towards a certain target. So I had this idea, or I heard people like monks talking about enlightenment, and it just sounded like, oh, this is something I need. This is
Yeah.
not something I need to aim for. I didn't even know what enlightenment was. I just heard like people talking about it, and it just sounded cool. Okay, I will have like clearer vision, okay, what I want or what life is about. So I had this quest that, okay, I want to learn a technique that can lead me to enlightenment, even though I was not 100% sure what enlightenment even was. So I was watching this documentary called Jesus Life in India, or Jesus in India. It's basically, there's a theory that when he was a kid, he traveled to the East. So in the Bible, there is a 12-year gap, or no, 18-year gap, sorry. So he disappears, he's 12, and then there's an 80-year gap, and the next chapter, he's 30 and he's a prophet already. So how did he become a prophet? What happened in those 18 years? So there's a theory that he traveled to Tibet, to Kashmir, North India, and Nepal. And then they were interviewing several like monks in different monasteries, and he also traveled to Puri. They interviewed a head priest there in a temple, and then he was saying that he was studying there and he was sharing some stories. And then when this priest was talking, I had this inner voice telling me, okay, now you have to go to this place. So, okay, what am I going to do? You just search for Puri Ashram. So I Google search Puri Ashram, and then to places came up, and I felt, okay, I need to go to this place, and I just contacted them, and then I started saving up some money, and I went to India for 6 months, and I just like gave up pretty much everything, and thought, okay, I'm just gonna dive in and find out what's happening. And yeah, it's been a wonderful journey ever since. So I got introduced into yoga, or I've been doing yoga before, but it was kind of different, you know, like when you go to the source,
Yeah.
it's the gym yoga, what we do in the West, and then when you live in an ashram, it's a different thing, like different vibe.
Yeah, yeah, I get your point. And I'm curious to know, what was your energy like as a child when you look back at that young Tapovan, um, interested in the supernatural, and what was your energy like?
I was pretty normal. I'm not a miraculous kid, you know. I'm just pretty standard. I came from a good family, so in terms of we were not super wealthy, but like I received loads of love. My parents were loving, and
Mm,
the family was always together. So I had a really stable childhood, free from trauma and stuff. So I'm quite lucky in that sense. I later had to learn that many people don't have that, like, you know, that kind of upbringing, because, you know, for different reasons. But yeah, my energy was just normal, I would say. No super lows, no super highs, nothing really. I can't really say anything. I was, you know, doing anything out of, or apart from anything extraordinary, so to say. So yeah, standard.
yeah, pretty standard.
Yeah,
And where does your name come from, Tapovan?
that's coming from my guru. So when I traveled to India, I did few yoga teacher trainings. I went to pursue this guru in Puri, who I was drawn to, like, through when I was basically, I did this research, and then I just found this ashram, and then I had the feeling, okay, I need to go there. And basically, I found my Kriya yoga teacher, a guru.
Mm,
So I went to see him, and study with him and stay with him. And then after that, I went to travel in the Himalayas. I went to the source of the Ganges. There's a place called Tapovan over there, which is a highland where there are hermits are living, sadhus.
mm,
And I had this really strong connection to the place. First time I felt like really utmost peace. I felt like I'm in a deep meditation, even though I was not meditating. So I had this really amazing experience there. And when I came down from that place, because that was quite high hike, and on the way down, I found an ashram where I stayed, and over there I got also initiated into a mantra. And then when you get mantra initiation from a master, then you get also a name, because they considered it's like your new birth. So until you find your guru, you are like a lost soul. And once you find your soul, you find your, like, let's say, a spiritual parent or teacher or father. And then they usually give you a spiritual name. And since I was living in the commune, and then he gave me this name, Tapovan, because I had this connection with the place. And then also I was living in the commune, and everybody using their spiritual name. So I just decided to keep it. And
yeah.
yeah, the meaning means the person who does tapas, or spiritual discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It also means the place of spiritual practice. If you go to the,
Mm,
let's say if you're in South India, Tapovan means the forest where yogis go, or hermits go away to be away from society, and just they do their spiritual practice, and they fully immerse themselves in that. Or
yeah.
you can be in the mountains, you go into the highlands where there are no, just to be away from society and the so-called usual problems of, you know, being a householder.
And what's your family's name?
Kupai,
Kupai.
yeah, that's
Is
the
that your
Hungarian.
first name?
No, that's my family name.
Okay,
It's my
your
surname.
last name and your first name?
Tamas.
Taman.
Tamas.
Tamas. Okay. Tamas Kupai.
Yeah,
Okay. Hungarian. It's a funny language, isn't
yeah. Very
it?
difficult to learn it.
And you mentioned that you're also interested in the power of the mind and how you can, well, create things, manifest things. What's your thought process like when you have an idea? How do you manifest it?
Interestingly, I don't try to come up with ideas like not at least not forcefully. And then I also realized like watching documentaries or reading books that let's say Tesla or Einstein, they had these moments when, or other inventors or scientists, they had this moment where if they came to the point where they couldn't solve the problem what they had, they just like sat down and they went into almost like a meditation. They didn't know they were meditating, but basically they sat down, they shut everything off, and then they were just listening, you know, because the
Yeah.
information is out there. So now quantum science says, or quantum physics says that the universe is made of information. So take it even further from, okay, everything is energy, everything is vibration, and that has a meaning, it carries a certain meaning, so it is an information. So everything is made up of information. So it is all around us, we are made up of information, we just need to be able to tap into that, and we don't, whatever we come up with, it has been taught before, or somebody taught about it before, like at least in the cosmic scale,
Mm.
because you know the universe is huge. So thinking that we are the only intelligent being
Yeah.
in town, then yeah, I don't think that's possible if we look at the scale of the entire creation. That, you know, we are the
Mm-hmm.
only one. So
Mm.
anyway, and then yeah, I just stay quiet, and usually thoughts come. You know, instead of I'm trying to find the thoughts, I just allow them to come. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my process.
Yeah. Yeah. And sounds like you've been taking this quarantine time to, well, to um, go deeper and develop, study, do more of your inner work. But I'm curious to know, what are you focusing on right now, or is there something in particular, one of these ideas that might be coming that you're excited about?
Yeah, like it gave me a lot of opportunity to go deeper into my practice, and also you know to just take time off, because many people or many of us have been just you know working all the time and not really paying attention to what is actually happening. So so work can be distraction, you know, we just continuously work, and the hamster wheel becomes our reality.
Mm.
Then until you step outside of the hamster wheel, you don't really see like how fast you are running or how fast the hamster wheel is going. So you have to like kind of take a step back, and I think that was a good opportunity for everyone to you know to take that distance away from our life, like what we were doing and how we were doing it, and then and see that from a different perspective, and maybe make changes according to what kind of change we want to manifest. And I think due to this whole lockdown, I mean, even before there were a lot of online courses, so I think everybody is interested in something. But you just have to find that, like, okay, are you interested in playing music? Are you interested in dancing? Maybe singing or painting or drawing or mathematics or whatever. Like everybody is interested in something. So you just
Yeah.
have to find out, okay, what am I really want to invest my time in,
Mm.
because life is actually really short. I think it's like, it's quite long, but if you really enjoy your life and if you live for 100 years, then life goes like really quick. So if life goes so quick, then why would you spend the time on something that you don't really enjoy doing, or it doesn't really make sense, just for the sake of, let's say, making money, or pursue something that is, not fulfilling, but you put up with it because like just keep pushing it. Okay, I will change when this happens, or I will change when that happens, or I will be happy when I have this, or I will be happy when I have that. But then it's like always putting your happiness and fulfillment into the future, and then what it will be. It will remain in the future. It will never come because future never really comes. We continuously live in the present moment. This whole idea of the future is just, an imagination of the mind. Because anything that will happen in the future, it will happen in the now. Because that's the only, you know, that's the only time we have. And whatever happened in the past, that also happened in the future. So the past and the future is, when the past is memory and the future is imagination.
Mm.
So, but so often the mind is like continuously going either way. It never really like to be in the center. So that's the whole purpose of these practices, to find center and focus on something that is truly meaningful and beneficial. So rather than being distracted and then doing something that, it's not actually moving us any closer to our ultimate goal. And then
Which
many times
is
you don't even know. Yeah, that's the thing. Like many times we don't even know. I would say it is to tread the path towards our higher self, to realize who we really are beyond this flash and, the mind that construct this psychological heap of preferences. There are likes and dislikes, and then we just get so deeply identified with that we kind of forget about, okay, that there's a higher force that is governing everything.
mm,
And
mm,
I'm talking about the body, mind, and spirit. And if you only take care of just the body or just the mind, then there will be no balance in the system, because the soul also needs to be taken care of. I'm not saying that's the only thing that should be taken care of. No, everything should be taken care of equally, so we create harmony rather than, imbalance.
yeah, creating harmony in the present with
Mm.
all the complexity of who we are. So even though you have this idea of, well, as you said, the future is just an idea, it's not actually real. If you were to play a game with yourself right now and allow your imagination to fly into the future,
Mm.
where do you see yourself, let's say, 5 years from now?
Okay, let's say I'm on a tropical island.
Yes, tropical island.
Yeah, it's very lush and green, very different.
Lush and green. Well, you already have a bit of lush and green next to you.
I know, I know. If you look around the house, it's like on the rainforest. So yeah, I've been collecting plants and making it, a bit greener than normal. And
The tropical
yeah,
island, lush and green.
I like, and having my own place, my own retreat, my own place of place of awakening. So want to create something that is, where people can come and transform and heal and connect with themselves. So place of place of healing, a place of surrender and bhakti, and,
Mm.
and connecting to our own self and then to the higher self, because eventually the two are the same, but we experience ourselves as a separate being. So there's always me, and then the external world. And yoga is that tool that can bring these two together. That you realize there is no me and not me. There's only me. So there's the universal soul that is encompassing everything and everyone. So yeah,
Hmm. Awesome.
that's
Well,
the whole idea.
I hope to come and visit you.
Inshallah.
And
Because thank God.
do
Hmm?
you see yourself doing that on your own or collaborating with other
I mean,
teachers?
running a place like that, like you can't. It's not a one man operation. So we definitely need other teachers. And also, like in terms of like, I don't want to work all day. So I'm gonna be honest with you, because your soul needs nourishment, right? So there's nothing wrong with working, because not working at all, that's also kind of like, okay, that then you go to the other end of the spectrum where you become bored, you become demotivated, and then you become depressed because there's nothing new, there's no challenge in life, and then there's nothing that you need to create. So
Mm.
you go into like that inertia or inert phase. That's also not ideal, but let's say working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, that's also not ideal, because then all you do is just like, you eat, you sleep, and then you work, and that's your whole life. Like, you get up early, you go to work, you get back home in the evening, and then what time do you have? Like, you can just have dinner, maybe watch something quickly, and then you go to bed, and then the day continues. So there's no real fulfillment in that. So we need to like kind of come to balance. Even science says now they have done studies that like 4 or 5 hours of work is actually the ideal amount of
Mm.
work we should do, because that's the time when we are actually productive.
Yeah.
After that, the mind starts, you're becoming distracted, and even though okay you are at work, but you may not be being productive.
Yeah.
So you can complete the hours, but eventually the productivity doesn't go the same way. And then on a long way run, like it is not fulfilling your soul. Like it doesn't matter, even if you love what you do, but if you do that, let's say 10, 12 hours every day, then it becomes like a monotone thing. Okay, you can lose the juice, you can lose the flavor.
Mm.
Then it just becomes something that you have to do rather than something that you want to do.
Yeah, it happens to me a lot. Sometimes I work all day and I actually just pretend I'm working. After a few hours, I'm just there pretending I'm working, but actually my mind is distracted, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Oh yeah, it happens to all of us.
And talking about um, pretending and how we, present ourselves. I've been asking myself, how do I want to present myself? Well, um, in the world, but also in social media.
Mm.
And I'm curious to know, what's your take on that? I know you have a beautiful presence on social media, a beautiful Instagram account, and I'm curious to know why and how do you use social media?
Well, let's say the business aspect of having an account, I think it's quite useful, because you can do, free advertisement. And if you want to live like a yoga teacher or or even a meditation teacher, you do need um, Or any kind of business, you need followers because you want to sell your product, even though it's not a product or your service. And
Yep.
then if you don't have any kind of presence, then people will not find you. So it's really difficult to be found. You know, if you don't have a website, if you don't, it's only just word of mouth, which can be quite powerful and it's great, but then your chances are so much more limited compared to, you know, spreading the word. And it's definitely, I would say, it's a work. You have to put a lot of energy into it, especially if you want to create something that is meaningful. Like, I don't just want to post because of just for the sake of posting, but for just actually, you know, put a message out there. I try to challenge people's thinking because I think there is a big need for a paradigm shift in the way we live as humanity. We become completely disconnected from our roots, from our land, from our ancestors. Now we live in cities, in concrete buildings, compared to, you know, like even let's say 100 or 200 years ago, we were still like mainly living in nature or on a farm, like even though they were living in houses, but still staying connected to the elements. You know, you had to go out and plow the land and tend your vegetables or your animals, and, you know, fetching water from the river or having a proper well where you have to, like, you know, do all the kind of stuff. And it doesn't mean that, okay, now we are having this really comfortable life, like we can just touch a button and the light comes on, or you open a tap and water flows, which is a great thing. Like, I'm not complaining, but at the same time, it kind of like isolates us from nature, and we become like isolated in terms of, you know, we lose our connection. But we are part of nature. We came from nature, and then we are part of this whole complete global ecosystem. We tend to forget that and make choices that are not very smart in terms of, you know, for the future generations, like, you know, like polluting the environment, the sea, the land, the air, and everything like that. So
Mm.
certainly choose a different path, and then I'm trying to like shed light on that. Okay, like,
Mm.
okay, let's see that not everything is perfect. Like, the way we live is actually totally unsustainable. Like, I can't see another 500 years of humanity with this kind of way of living, because we are using our resources, and then we live as the resources would be infinite or infinite, but we are living on a finite planet. So that's just, you know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that, okay, polluting all the rivers, then fishing all the fish out of the taking all the fish out of the oceans, and destroying or cutting down the trees and then the forest, then it's not the way to go. Like, you know, like, even with this whole shutdown, you know, the wildlife has recovered quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I saw like pictures from cities where, you know, there's like this constant layer of smog, or, you know, you can always see when you fly somewhere, you kind of like fly through a layer of just, you know, dust and all sorts of particles. Then compared to like 2 weeks lockdown and then 5 week lockdown, and then the air and the clouds, they came back and everything was just like, you know, a lot more natural looking.
Yeah.
So there's definitely an aspect to return to that, and it ties in with yoga in terms of self-awareness. So we need to think about not just ourselves, but also people around us, and then also the ecosystem, the animals, the trees and the plants, because everything is one unit. So we can't just act on our behalf and then being completely disrespectful to all other humans and all other creatures and living beings, because we don't have the right to destroy anything. We're given this beautiful planet, and we are not being a good owner or caretaker.
Yeah.
They're not doing a great job. And then it comes down to consciousness and human awareness. If there is a lot of conflict with ourselves, that's what we project. So that's the first thing we should do, like find that happiness, and so there's no inner conflict within us, and we are not looking for somebody else to make us happy. So because it's this constant chasing of happiness and fulfillment, we need more, and we want more, we want more of this, we want more of that. But then eventually we just destroy our whole livelihood, and then we're still not happy. Because you can see that many people who reach the very top of success, either material or even in their career, and then they commit suicide. They reached everything, they have everything, fame, money, influence, and then they are still not happy. So why is that? So it means that it is not the answer, but we have been sold this false idea that, okay, we need to get rich and then we'll be happy. And then you won't know that it is not true until you get rich, but it's really difficult to get rich with honest means. That's how the system is designed. So most people never get really rich, and then we just, it's like when the donkey has the rabbit in front of the face, they hold a stick with the rabbit, and the donkey is just like going after the rabbit. Now humans are the same. We just have money hanging in front of us, and we just keep chasing the money, and then it's like going a vicious cycle. So yeah, that's why I use my account to raise some awareness and point out certain things that you should pay attention to, and yeah, hopefully it makes a difference. And
Yeah, well, personally, I enjoy seeing your posts and reading them, and I find them thought-provoking, and I feel that you take the time to actually think about the message behind them. So thank you for that.
thank you. Pleasure.
And my last question is, Tapovan, if you had a microphone, a spiritual megaphone, and you could broadcast a message to people in Doha, if you could infiltrate inside their minds, inside their AirPods, what message would you share with them?
I mean, it doesn't really. It was more like a megaphone for the world, right?
Beyond Doha, yeah.
Let's go beyond borders, because we are just one race.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of creed and religion and colors, and that's our downfall, because we always create groups or categories. If you say I'm Christian, it means I'm not Muslim, I'm not Buddhist, I'm not Hindu, I'm Christian, I'm okay in this box. Or if I'm Hungarian, it means I'm not English, I'm not American, I'm not Qatari. So then again, I'm in a different kind of box. And then it can, it can go to like such an extreme, like even people, the football fans, they're coming from the same country, and then they support one football club, and then there's another football club, and they're just ready to kill each other. So I think we need to wake up to this idea and truth that we are eventually one, and we can only truly survive if we get together and unite, and we join our, knowledge, passion, and understanding. I really like to use this analogy of an anthill. Like if you open up an anthill, you see all the ants are like going like really chaotically, but however chaotic it looks, they actually have a purpose, and everybody is doing their job for the benefit of the whole ant hill. So they are serving the purpose, and they don't think about themselves and then their selfish interest, but they work towards the community, towards the whole. Otherwise, they could not work; they would collapse. So that's why we also experienced in the same kind of disharmony, because we only focus on what we need. We don't really see the bigger picture that okay, we do need to collaborate to, to find a beautiful way of living, because we could live without crime, we could live without poverty, we could live without hunger, but and we don't live without it because we don't have the resources or we don't have the knowledge, we just don't have the willingness to actually make the right decisions and the right steps. So it's I think we need to wake up, that's all. Like, and then that requires changing the way we think. That's the most fundamental aspect of change. Instead of waiting for the world to change outside of us, we have to start from inside. We have to change the way we think, and then that will change how we perceive things, and it will change what kind of choices we make. And then through that choices, we can change our habits. Then it will lead to changing our overall experience and our emotions, which will lead back to changing our thought, because this is like a cycle. So we do have to make a change at some point. Then the change have to start with us. So yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
message.
Beautiful. Well, it ties in with what you said at the beginning about happiness being an inside job. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's a beautiful full circle, and that's it for today. Thank you so much for taking the
All right.
time to share your
Thank you.
knowledge,
Thank you.
your perspective, and yeah, let's wake up.
Inshallah.
Thank you, Tapovan.
Thank
God
you,
bless.
everyone. Thank you, Daniel. Pleasure to be here. Take care.